you know what happens when you recycle it?
It's gone.
Well, is it
It
gone?
goes into renew.
A classroom where the students have special needs. At Atlas Foundation School, all the kids have autism, a condition characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, and communication difficulties. The school helps kids develop their cognitive skills with specially designed rooms to stimulate sight, sound, and touch in a nurturing environment, in the hopes the kids enter school and the workforce to in turn educate the general public.
Autism is full of a lot of pride and full of a lot of intelligence that just is getting shared in different ways.
All right, let's not run. First, we're gonna go straight down this way.
Alex Siri, who is nonverbal, is a student at Atlas. The prevalence of autism in children in the United States has increased by more than 100% in recent years. It's the fastest growing developmental disability.
Globally, it's estimated some 70 million people live with some form of autism, and it's with that in mind that one of the world's most popular children's television series has introduced Julia.
Noise? The sirens are bothering you?
For the first time in a decade, Sesame Street introduced a new character to the program, Julia, an autistic child.
Hi.
Do you shake hands?
Well, you know, Julia has autism, so it might take her a little while to get to know you first, that's all.
Julia is meant to end the stigma associated with autism.
You may know this, but today in the United States, 1 in 68 children is diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And so this was an issue that Sesame Street felt like we really needed to address.
But while the cause of the rise in autism remains a mystery, it's hoped that programs like this will help make living with the condition a little easier. Gabriel Elizondo, Al Jazeera, New York.
You know, probably the most shameful rhetorical development I've seen come out of this, meme alliance between the skeptic community and the alt-right is this use of a meme about autistic screeching. I noticed the other day that Sesame Street had integrated a Muppet that was on the spectrum into their programming. I thought this was very relevant. Sesame Street has always been a leader in diversity, inclusion. For African audiences at one point started to incorporate a Muppet that had HIV. Not everybody understands the importance of destigmatizing something like autism. My problem with the autistic screeching meme is, number one, that it's not. It takes something that's already, highly stigmatic and wields it as a bludgeon, not only to humiliate and other autistic people, but to to excuse your own rhetorical transgressions. Like, when somebody disagrees, dissents in a political conversation, it's become a meme to, mark them up to, their objections, their outrage to, unintelligible, unjustified, autistic screeching, which really is so goddamn, unfair to, the diversity of character and functionality within the autistic community. It takes neurodiversity, the idea of neurodiversity, and throws it out the window for the sake of claiming that you can't be wrong because your opposition is incapable of getting it. Yeah, this is part of the whole, intellectual vanity of this skeptic movement on YouTube and Twitter. This idea that, I'm infallible because, I cherry-picked certain facts, and of course facts are absolute. So you end up with a way to sort of give onlookers the idea, it's very much so about keeping people from listening to the opposition. In this case, social justice advocates. So, the alt-right and the skeptics, the shitlords, however you want to call them, they don't want the people that subscribe to their reactionary doctrine to question the orthodoxies that they establish, the orthodoxies about feminism, the orthodoxies about Islam, the orthodoxies about race and diversity. So they resort to these highly unethical rhetorical devices. So, I also try not to lose track of what, the reality is of the virtual space and what the reality is of the public at large. I think that the political speech on YouTube is far to the right of mainstream society's views on people with disabilities. I don't think the average person on the street would be able to comprehend what exactly. I mean, I myself am very immersed in politics, and I can't comprehend what the joke is regards to the autistic screeching thing. I understand why the other side laughs at it, but in terms of just the basic mechanics of humor, there's no joke there. It's this thing that conservatives do where they use a joke as pretense to mock, humiliate, marginalize, reduce opposing arguments and ideological opponents. So I'm glad to see that something as universal and mainstream as Sesame Street decided, representation matters. Maybe if we normalize this very natural occurrence of, people being born with, landing on the autistic spectrum, perhaps the next generation of children will find it alienating to use autistic as an aspersion, right? I remember when I was small, I'm close to being middle-aged, I'm 36 years old. When I was a kid, gay could be used in such a way where, you could just shut your opponent down regardless of what the specifics of your argument were. If you were a boy, it would be automatically to emasculate another kid and marginalize them and bully them, that's gay, you're gay. And as media took the care to normalize through representation gay relationships, the use of the term gay as a pejorative started to become outmoded. It wasn't, even necessarily about taboo. These things sort of die when they just become sort of outmoded. You know what I'm saying? Kids react to hip factor a lot. So when young people make, rhetorical choices, I mean, the shitlords and the alt-right are very stunted in their wielding of memes and their kind of flat invocations of irony. So there's an obvious sort of straight through line between, Sargon, the Pope of skepticism, Richard Spencer, the Führer of the alt-right, and like 13-year-old boys on Xbox Live. They used to call each other faggot as the ultimate insult. Now that being gay is more mainstream and gay marriage is legal, now autistic is the new kind of self-perpetuating malignant language. I mean, it is so metastatic. It's so cancerous, the way in which these perpetual adolescents, these poorly developed, unformed adults, abuse the premise, the pretense of humor to just bash down on people. I'm so very married to the idea that once people realize that that people in their life represent normalcy. As people, there's an idea that more kids have been diagnosed as autistic. That there's more data to support the fact that kids that needed to be diagnosed as autistic long ago. The science has just caught up now to start properly diagnosing autistic people. It is normal. It is common. Steven Spielberg, the filmmaker, the internationally acclaimed filmmaker, he's on the Asperger's spectrum. And I was, when he came out with that and was open about it, that was so important. So let's see what the next generation of kids do. Let's see what happens when 20 years from now Julia, the autistic Muppet, is just another Muppet. She's just a part of everyday life. When we can actually embrace neurodiversity. And there'll always be bullies. But they'll just change the brand of what they abuse people with. I think what this YouTube community really needs is a paradigm shift on what compassion means. Because right now, what is strangling this environment and making it, this downward spin of people losing monetization is a fucking hate speech thing. You want to talk about shitty things that have become normalized? Hate speech. Including the autistic screeching meme is fucking hate speech.